Hi guys, Alexandra here, and I know a lot of you all have been asking for some how-to videos, basically breaking down the overly priced and highly complex world of makeup. And as I said, I got you. So today we're going to be kicking it off with foundation, and with that, what our skin type is, what foundations work best for our skin type needs, because that plays such a huge role into it, and as you all know, we're all needing something a little different. Also, you can't really get into foundations without talking about primers, concealers, setting powders, and sprays, because any one of those products can really screw up a great foundation. Now, I didn't want to make this video too long, so I decided to break it up into two parts. In part one, we're going to be getting into those skin types, how to figure out what our skin type is, and then what coverages work best for those skin types. Also, those primers, concealers, setting powders, and sprays, and what works best with what. In video two, we're going to be getting into those foundations, what foundations work best for our coverage needs, and then I will be showcasing a few of my favorites, as well as giving you guys some great drugstore dupes, because I know not everybody can afford the higher end stuff, but there really are some great drugstore dupes out there that I feel like work just as well, if not better, than those higher end products. We're also going to be talking about ways to apply those products, and as you guys can see, I ain't got nothing on my face, so I will be doing a little get ready with me, showing you some of my faves and my ways to apply those. So pull up a chair, grab your cup of coffee, glass of wine, or whatever it is that you need. Definitely get a pen and piece of paper, because I've got something for everyone and you all do not want to miss this. This is part one of foundation. Alright guys, so this is part one of Foundation 101, and the first thing we're going to get into is skin types, because as I said, that plays such a huge role into what kind of coverage you need, and therefore what kind of foundations you need to be using. Now, a majority of you all probably know what your skin type is, but if you don't worry, don't feel ashamed, it's okay, I didn't either for a long time. All you need to do is go to Sephora. They will use a skin tester, press it up on the main areas of your face, and they can tell you what type of skin you have. Okay, now it is also very common to have a combination of two of these types that we're going to go over, and if that is the case, it's okay. You just may have to use a combination of methods or different primers or foundations during different times of the year. I have combination skin. The struggle is real, okay? So the first skin type we're going to get into is acne prone skin. So if you have acne prone skin, you want more of a medium to full coverage foundation. Also, I would stay away from oil primers. You want more of a blurring primer, okay? Do not use your fingers to apply your makeup, because that's going to transfer oils from your fingers to your skin, which is therefore going to cause more breakouts. Also, when you're using beauty blenders and brushes, make sure you're cleaning them regularly, because again, the buildup of the makeup and the oils from your face from using them previously are going to transfer and cause you to have more breakouts, okay? So with aging skin, you're gonna want more of a light coverage liquid makeup. And I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes less is more. Another thing, CC creams are your best friend. Now, CC creams also work great for people that have multiple tones on their skin. But with the aging skin, I would recommend mixing either a tinted moisturizer or a CC cream in with your foundation to give you that lighter coverage that you probably need for your skin type. Okay, as far as primers or brushes or anything like that, it just depends on your other, skin types with your aging skin. And as far as CC creams go, the best one I can recommend is this one, which is the one by It Cosmetics, and it's called the Your Skin But Better CC cream. You can get this at Sephora, Ulta, Macy's. It's like $38, and I think $15 at Sephora for the mini size. Okay? Now, if you have dry skin, you want to have more of a hydrating light coverage foundation. Also, you are probably one of the only individuals that I would say using your fingers is probably best, because you do want to transfer those oils onto your face that will help your dry skin, okay? Also, wet beauty blenders would work really well with dry skin. Oil primers, okay? Stay away from powders, especially anything with talc in it. So if you have to use a powder, that's fine, but don't use one with talc in it, because that's just gonna dry you out more, and we'll get into that here in a little later, okay? Now, if you have oily skin, I would recommend the opposite. No oil primers. You want more of a matte finish, whereas somebody with dry skin would want more of a dewy finish, okay? Oily skin, you want more of a medium to full coverage foundation, okay? You can use a sponge or brush. If you use a beauty blender, I recommend taking a paper towel, and after you squeeze the water out, put the paper towel, wrap it around it, and squeeze an extra couple of times just to get any extra moisture out of that beauty blender. I would also recommend a brush. Works great for very oily skin. Again, make sure you're cleaning it regularly though. Definitely no fingers, okay? And powder foundations, or just powders in general, talc powders really work great for oily skin, okay? Now, with sensitive skin, you want to stay away from anything that has a fragrance. Mineral foundations are really going to work great for you. Don't use your fingers, and make sure, again, you're cleaning your brushes regularly, because any extra dirt and oil left on from the day before is going to cause a flare-up of your skin, okay? Now, if you have combination skin, so like me, if you have oily combination, oily dry skin, really kind of like the floor plan is kind of open for us, okay? So it really just depends on what kind of day that I'm having as to what kind of primer or foundation and whatever I'm using. So sometimes I need more of a matte finish, sometimes I need more of a dewy finish, sometimes I need a blurring primer, and sometimes I need a oily primer, okay? Again, as far as application, I would just not use your fingers. Either a wet beauty blender or a brush would work best for us, okay? All right, guys, so now let's talk about primers for a second, because just like building a house, you gotta start from the bottom and work your way up, okay? So for me, one of the best blurring primers I think I've ever used to date is gonna be this one, which is the Cover FX blurring primer. Now, if you got your BoxyCharm, you got this last month in your box. It's a fantastic blurring primer. If you didn't get your BoxyCharm and didn't get it, then you can get it at Sephora or Ulta for $38. Now, a close runner-up to that, as far as blurring primers go, would be the Professional. I feel like this one's almost as good as that one. I feel like the Cover FX is a little better, but this one is definitely a close runner-up. So you can get this at Ulta or Sephora, $31 for the full size or $12 for the mini. Now this is the mini, and I bought this quite a few months ago, and I feel like there's probably still about half of a tube left in there. So you don't necessarily have to buy the full size, because a little bit of that goes a long way, and you know, save a little bit of money if you can, right? So there's that. Okay, now if you have dry skin and you don't want to go with an oil primer, you can always just go with a hydrating primer, and for that, my recommendation would be the Laura Mercier, $38 at Sephora. It is a great hydrating primer. I love it. I've used it quite a few times. It's wonderful. Now, if you are going with an oil primer, one of everybody's top fan favorites would be the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Oil. You can get that at Ulta or Sephora for $42. But me personally, I have used the Smashbox. It's great. I did love it. But I kind of found something I think that works just as good, if not better, and that is going to be this one right here, which is the Physicians Formula Organic Wear Oil Elixir Primer. Now, you can get this for $14.95 at Target. Ulta has it. I think I've even seen it at Walmart. And this has got a brightening effect in it, which I really loved. And I really love this primer, especially if I'm using a dewy foundation, or if it's the winter time. It's just a great, great primer, okay? Now, if you have aging skin, you want something with anti-aging in there, something that's moisturizing, the best one I can recommend is going to be this one, which is going to be the IT Number Serum 50 Collagen Veil Anti-Aging Primer. You can get this at Ulta or Sephora for $48. Now, as you can see, mine is just about empty there, but I do love this stuff and I have used the crap out of it. So this is a really great anti-aging primer, okay? Now, if you're using a powder foundation, one of the best primers I can really recommend is going to be this one, which is going to be the Bare Mineral Prime Time Primer. You can get this at Sephora for $25 and then Ulta has it for $27. Also, another really great primer for people who have oily skin, or if you're using a powder foundation, is going to be the MAC Prep and Prime Natural Radiance. That has ingredients in it that controls oil. It's also got vitamins E and C. It comes in 2 different colors, a pink for fairer skin and then a yellow for darker skin tones. And then you can find that at Macy's, Ulta, it's everywhere for $42, okay? Now, I already gave you this drugstore primer, but another really great drugstore primer that works great for all skin types is going to be the L'Oreal Magic Lumi Primer, which Walmart currently has for $10.97 and then Ulta has it for $12.99. It's just a wonderful primer all the way around and I really enjoyed using it when I had it and I think I might go get some more. So there's that. All right, also one last thing is with primers, you guys, this is really super important. Make sure you get some kind of moisturizer for underneath your eye. I found that to be really important, especially when using concealers, which is what we're gonna talk about next. Okay, so definitely get some kind of under eye moisturizer. I'm currently using the I'm probably not pronouncing this right, the Ole Henriksen under eye banana brightening cream. Also, I have used a lot of Olay products. They work really great for keeping that under eye moisturized because that is going to be really important to keep your eyes from creasing and wrinkling because that's one of the first areas on our face that is going to show our age. Okay, now getting into concealers. So one of the best concealers out, I would say to date, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, and that's going to be the Tarte Shape Tape. Now, I would not recommend this for anybody that has dry skin or if you're already starting to see some aging or wrinkles under your eye, I would not use this. Now, if you have, acne prone skin, oily skin, I would definitely recommend this to you, okay? Or if you're younger, you have younger skin, I would recommend this to you. It is very thick. It does very great. It has very great coverage. It just does cause some creasing with older people or if you have a lot of creasing under your eyes or if your eyes are very dry. This is not a great one, okay? And you can get the Shape Tape at Ulta for $27. All right, another really good one is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, which you can get at Sephora for $30, and then they have a mini, which is $13, which, as you guys know, concealer goes a long way, so I feel like that's a really good deal, and I would really just get the mini. But let me say this about the NARS. So if you have, really big pores, I would not use that because it does soak into your pores extremely well and it will kind of show those. So I would stay away from the NARS if you have a pore problem. For me, my ride or die concealer is gonna be this one. I have very dry under the eye area and I feel like this works really great. I also sometimes get creasing. This takes all of that away. This is the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Concealer. This is fabulous. It's at Sephora for $28. And if you have, like I said, dry under the eye area, any kind of creasing, anything like that, I would definitely recommend this all day long. Okay, another great one if you can't afford those other ones that I just named. A lot of people pass this by because it's a Sephora brand, but it is a great concealer, especially if you have dry under the eye or creasing, and that's going to be the Sephora Bright Future Gel Serum Concealer, and that's only $7. A lot of people pass that up because it's a Sephora brand, but it is, you know, Sephora did a great job on that, you guys. So I used to have that. I actually can't find it, but it is a great concealer, okay? A great drugstore brand concealer is going to be the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser Dark Circles Treatment Concealer. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, so the best price I found that at right now is at Target for $6.74. That's really gonna darken or lighten up those little dark circles that you get under your eyes. It doesn't cause a lot of creasing, it doesn't dry your under eye area out, and it also doesn't soak into your pores and show your pores really well like the NARS does, okay? Okay guys, so the last part of this video, we're gonna talk about setting powders and sprays. The reason being is because they can really screw up a great foundation very quickly. The big thing with powders is you want to watch the ingredients for anything that has talc in it. Okay, if you have dry skin, you want to stay away from talc powders. Now, if you have oily skin, it would probably be better if you got a talc powder. The reason being is because talc is basically a drying agent. It's going to suck the moisture from your face. So again, oily skin, probably a talc powder would be best. If you have dry skin, stay away from talc powders altogether. And I would not use a talc powder under your eye because again, it's going to dry you out. Now, another thing with talc powders is they do not mix so well with certain foundations, and I'll get into those later, but really dewy foundations, no, you want to stay away from talc powder. It's going to cause that foundation to cake up really badly and just ruin it, so stay away from anything with talc in it. Now, if you do need to use a talc powder, the best two I can recommend is going to be the Too Faced Translucent Peach, which you can only get at Sephora, and it is $32. And then the Bye Bye Pores Poreless Finish Airbrush Powder, which you can get at Sephora or Ulta for $24. Now, this is a great powder, finishing powder. I love it, but again, it doesn't work with some of my foundations, and it is very drying because it does have talc in it. Now, for me, and this is going to be crazy, if you have really dry skin, there's only one powder I would recommend, and this is my Ride or Die powder. I actually just recently discovered this, and my daughter calls it the devil's powder. So it's this one, and that's going to be the Becca Hydra Mist Set and Refresh Powder, which is $38 at Sephora. Now, the reason she calls this the devil powder, so normally with powders, you know, you put it on, it should be kind of dry. But with this, it's not. It's actually infused with water. So when you put it on, it actually feels wet and kind of a little cool. So it's insane because you like dip your, it's a powder, and then you're like put it on and you're like, oh my God, that's kind of wet feeling, you know? So it's very hydrating, especially to under the eye areas. And then again, if you have dry skin and you really need to use a powder, I would recommend no other one but this one, okay? Another really good, and this doesn't have talc in it either. So another really good talc-free powder is going to be the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder, which is $46 at Sephora. And it's got a really great powder. It's got no flashbacks. It's just absolutely an amazing setting powder. I had samples of it. I loved it. I'm out of it. I'm probably going to get more at some point to add it to my collection. Just right now, I'm really loving on the Becca. So another really good one is going to be this Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. So a full size of this is $35 at Sephora, or you can get this travel size, which I think is like $14.99 or $15 at Sephora. Now, if you're not using powders that often, I would definitely just get the travel size because, I mean, as you can see, it's a really nice size, and you know, little bit, it's a powder, a little bit goes a long way. So this is a really great talc-free powder as well. Okay, now, if you're using powder foundations, you don't want to use a talc powder. And the best thing I can recommend for any powder foundation is going to be this little baby, and this is the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil Finishing Powder. You can get at Ulta or Sephora for $23. The reason this works so great with powder foundations is because with powder foundations, it's powder, so it's already drying. With that, it's just milled so finely that it gives that powder foundation a more luminous look, and it takes that powdery look out of it, okay? Whereas other setting powders might add to it. So I would definitely recommend this one over any other for any kind of powder foundations, okay? And then as far as setting sprays go, the best two I can the best one I can recommend, there is no two, there's only one. The best one I can recommend is going to be the Urban Decay All Nighter. That will set your makeup for life, like I'm telling you what. So you can get a full size of that at Ulta or Sephora for $32, a travel for $15. But currently, Ulta has this little baby, which is the travel size plus the optical illusion primer for $19. That's a really great primer. It's not one of my top faves, but it is a really great one. It gives you a nice dewy finish. I really like it. It's just not one of my tops. So, but that's a really good deal. And again, you make sure you use that Ebates when you're ordering online at Sephora, and go through the Ebates app to do that, okay? Now, if you're ordering online at Sephora through the JCPenney's, you wanna go through the JCPenney's one, okay? And I will actually go into the whole Ebates thing a little bit more because I know some of you guys have had some questions or problems with that, so we will talk about that here very soon. But for now, we are done with part 1 of Foundations